Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Jeremy. Again, of course, as you guys probably already know, I am with Made Management, run a management company based in New York City and in Puerto Rico. And I was just in Orlando this last week, but now I am currently in Puerto Rico, so it's great to be back. I am enjoying the weather here. Good to see everybody. If you guys don't mind putting in the chat where you're from, love to shout you out. We're going to ask some questions of my special guest here today. We're going to pick his brain. We are going to solve all the world's problems as usual in our hour time that we have. So I hope you guys are ready to go. Put in those questions as we're chatting. Put in the questions that you have for us. We'll be able to address those, get those answered, and get you guys some great information. But I'm excited about my guest here today. I hope you guys are excited. I've been looking forward to it all week. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Let's go ahead and add him to here. See if he's here. There he is. I have the one and only Mr. John with us today. So John, first of all, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate it. It looks like you're sitting in your studio there.
As usual. Yep.
As usual.
Thanks for having me. It's fun. I love doing stuff like this and talking to aspiring musicians, singers, people who want to do something with the talent they've been given, right? So I think all of us remember the earliest memories of music and what really kind of that first song or that first piece of music that really moved you. And it's a very powerful thing, right? So you remember that because music is that powerful, right? So for those, pursuing the arts, not just music, but dancing, modeling, acting, it's a self-discovery process that, when it's done right, is very enjoyable.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. I love that you're here with us today. I can't wait to ask you some great questions. As I tell everybody, we're here to solve all the world's problems today. So,
oh yeah,
I know you have all the insight for us.
I got this.
So, John, if you don't mind, can you? Well, first of all, where are you joining from? Where exactly are you located?
So, I born and raised, live in Jersey, dirty Jersey, as we joke about it. But I live kind of about maybe 45 minutes south of Manhattan to an hour, depending on traffic and all that stuff. But a pretty rural area. So I have 2 recording studios out here, and it's just family and stuff is why I've been here my whole life, and just kind of made a life for myself here, and I really like it. It's nice, it's convenient, close to the shore. Summer's been pretty brutal heat this year, but other than that, summers are usually a lot of fun here, Jersey Shore and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so from the New York tri-state city area, and I love it. Yeah, it's fun. I think from a music perspective, I don't think you necessarily these days, especially with everything being so much digital and online, it was a lot more vital when I was younger coming into the industry to be in an area like this, to meet people and to network. But I tell artists now, like, who might feel like they live out in the middle of nowhere, there's still a lot you can do. You don't have to just feel like if you're not in LA or New York or something like that, that you don't have a chance. So that's been a really good part about where the music industry has gone in the last 5 to 10 years,
Nice. And whenever somebody says Jersey, I think of Jersey Shore.
The show, I know. I have a friend, right? Every time he always says that, and he always says, "Well, let's just say I'm from New York." He hates it. Oh, you're New Jersey, New Jersey, yeah. That's that show, right? And he's like, after he heard that, I was like, yeah, I'm from New York. So anyway,
I have a guy in here, Jason. Good to see that you're here. He says he's from Jersey as well. So,
all right,
there's a lot of great musicians that came from Jersey, right? I mean, there's some very well known.
Yeah, believe it or not, right? And not from just recent times. I mean, off the top of my head, and I can tell you just a real funny story. Deborah Harry, she's an artist from Jersey, and she's around the area. She was probably 15 minutes from here. Bruce Springsteen literally lives a mile and a half down the road from me. He's got a beautiful farm and property, and actually, sometimes I go fishing on a lake right where he recorded the legendary album Nebraska. And the house is like right there, it's pretty cool. So, and there's Bon Jovi in the 80s, right? Like, obviously everybody loves those early great Bon Jovi songs. I think more in modern times, we've got Charlie Puth. He lives not far from here. Halsey, I think, is from Jersey. There's others. I'm just blanking right now. But yeah, no, it's a very musical area, and that's what's great about it. And it's always, since I got into the business way back in the 1900s, dating myself a bit, but it's been a vibrant music and artistic community. You know, like where Bruce Springsteen got his start in Asbury Park, New Jersey. If you look it up, it's a really cool spot. Um, has had its ups and downs, but has really come along in the last decade or two. It's just a very cool, kind of got that New York vibe, and a lot of talented people go there to perform, and big video shoots, movie shoots. We got Netflix moving, going to be their biggest studio in North America, literally 10 minutes down the road from me. So I'm like, great, traffic isn't bad enough already. But a lot of cool happenings in our area, and so I'm excited about that.
I mean, really, really, Jersey. If those people who've never been to that area or know that northeastern part of the U.S., Jersey's just kind of a suburb of New York, anyways, right? I mean, most people that work and live in Manhattan during the day, they commute and live in Jersey at night, right?
And I mean, since COVID, you know, we have this little joke because New York drivers and all that. No offense to you guys in New York, but you know, the amount of New York plates we see here in New Jersey, I almost think like we might be part of New York now. You know, now all my neighbors are all from Staten Island or Brooklyn, and they're great. I love it. It's like,
Very
you
cool.
know.
Well, John, before we get deep into the music, I have some good questions for you regarding music. But before we do that today, can you share with me a little bit of your background? Like what
Sure.
is it that you're currently doing, but how did you get to where you're at today?
That's the one. Well, currently, you know, Watersound Entertainment is a company I founded in all the way back in 1997, and it started. I mean, I'll start there for a second because it really just began as a placeholder because I was releasing my own music. So, like probably many people on the call who are singing and maybe wanting to get into music and writing their own songs and performing, that was really the genesis for me was classically trained on piano and then moving to vocal. So my roots were classical. And going to the end now, and I'll fill in the gaps here in the middle in a second. What we do today all was built from that. But now, over the years, I've worked with so many different musicians, artists. I'm a producer, like I mentioned. We have 2 recording studios. But really, the the coolest thing that really we've turned this so-called record label into is a catalog company. In other words, we have a very large catalog of master recordings that we license, that we stream, and we monetize on all the platforms, Spotify, you know, Apple Music, all that, TikTok, of course, and the Instagram and the those monetizing platforms, YouTube, you know. So we have like probably close to 500 master recordings, and some of them, many of them, do pretty well. And I think last year alone we had just on Spotify almost 50 million streams
Wow.
collectively, you know. And we've got songs and movies. We just had a great artist I've been working with for many years. She's a super talented singer. We had a song in that show Hard Knocks just a couple days ago on HBO, which is like an NFL show, really cool show. So we do licensing deals too, you know, where we get songs placed in movies or commercials. We do stuff with advertisers. But like going back again to the origin of it, and what I think is why this is important for everybody listening, is it all begins with the heart to do it, the passion, because you can really quickly and easily get caught up in the whole glamour of it all, and you know, right, and like wanting to make it and wanting to get rich, or just want to make a good living doing what you love, right? I mean, and that's what I like to tell people. Look, if you follow your passion and do this for the real reason of the love of the craft, and you're truly authentic and try to find your own thing, don't copy others, be yourself, be unique, all that stuff in theory should follow. And sometimes someone set off a firework. um, Sometimes that can happen quickly, not quickly, but it's a several year journey, and you're always on that journey. um, you know, it never really ends because you're always creating, you're always experiencing new things in life. And so that was my thing. At a very young age, I remember saying to my parents, "Mom, Dad, music's my life. Like, this is what I'm going to do." And my mom was a classically trained pianist. My dad loved music, so they didn't like freak out over it, but they were also like, "Okay, well, we don't know anything about the music business. How are you going to make it? You know, how are you going to be successful? How are you going to make a living?" I'm like, "I have no idea, but I'm going to figure it out." You know, this was probably when I was like 15, maybe, or something like that. But
Right.
stop me if I'm rambling too much here. But
No, you're good.
um, so without making this a very long story, but it's just the love of music I had, which led me to write songs to start recording my own music throughout my teenage years. I learned multiple instruments. I had played piano since like 5 or 6 years old. I learned guitar, I was playing drums, took vocal lessons, always was not the best singer in the world. But through a lot of training, I realized how much that can affect your voice for the better. Then I started recording other singers, just local people, and they had cool voices. I'd see them at shows or little local coffee houses back in the day. And I had this little studio. I'm like, come on in, let's record some music. And that's how I started working and producing artists. And one thing led to another. I started getting label gigs, and I've been in it a long time. I've done consulting gigs with many major record labels like Warner and Atlantic. And you guys can kind of go on our website, maybe see a little more in depth of that. But I think I've had a really well-rounded experience in the music industry. I've been on tour. I've toured with some successful acts that, we played big festivals and in front of tens of thousands of people, and got to understand the road and working with road managers and from tour promoters, things like that. So, but it's all mostly music based, right? Like our company really, our goal is to help new singers who have, whether you're at the very beginning of this or you're somewhere further along, to find who you are as an artist and to get your business in order, start building music catalog, putting stuff out there, learning how to monetize it, learning to be a self-sufficient, independent artist. Independent doesn't have to mean small. Just about everybody I'm working with right now is independent, and many of them are making 6 figures a year just off of streaming. And I talk about this all the time, and it's so inspiring because in the old days, so-called, you had to get the record deal, you had to be on MTV, you had to be on terrestrial radio, which no one really listens to much anymore. Now it's like, anybody could post something, and next thing you know, the whole world is looking at it, right? So, but that's very encouraging to me. But there's, of course, always a right and wrong way to do that too. And so there's some details there. But did that explain? Was that a good answer to your question?
No, I love it. Yeah, I love hearing the background. So you started off classically trained, obviously, because your parents were, right? Is that kind of
my mom? Yeah,
where
my dad was a musician, but he had classically trained. Yeah. And we do, obviously, as a label and as a production company, and me as a writer, I love music. So I'm not really particular on genre. I mean, obviously I have my sweet spots, right? And there's a lot of times I'll meet a great artist and I'll know that I'm not a good fit from a creative songwriting or production standpoint, and I know people who are. But I love all kinds of music. So at our company, our music company is really well-rounded. We work with artists that might be kind of got a vibe like I don't know, like Adele or Amy Winehouse, to something that's more country, to something that's more hard rock, some more R&B, and then of course classical. We have a really good classical division because for many decades I've been composing. I do stuff with some symphonic, orchestra stuff, and solo piano, ambient piano, neoclassical, all different things, right? So we're a very busy company, and this studio is going around the clock. Just the amount of music we make and release, it's crazy, So all because of the passion and love. It's not because, there are deadlines and stuff, but it's not because this is a job. It never feels like a job. I mean, very rarely. It's always like, yeah, go ahead.
There's times just like anybody else, right? You're working hard, you have long, exhausting days. Anybody in the entertainment business knows this. But at the end of the day, you hit that pillow and you're like, that was a fun day,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Or fun a couple days in a row because you stayed up till like 11 a.m. the next day or something because you're trying to finish something. And the reason why your days are so long, for me anyway, and the people I work around, is because we make it that way. We have to stop ourselves. It's like, the sun's going to be coming up. All right, we got to shut things down. It's been like 15 straight hours, or you obsess on things because you just love it. It's a passion. It really is. So for everybody listening, trust me when I tell you this. Don't lose sight of that passion. That's everything. Build everything around that. There's not going to be always great days, and it's always going to be easy, always climbing a mountain, right? But it's that excitement, that passion, that belief, and you have to have belief in yourself, and not that you're always going to be super confident. But there was an old music person I met many years ago in my early start that told me, if you don't believe in yourself, then who else is going to, right? And I think your talent contestants, they're here because they believe in themselves enough. And the people I meet when I do events or showcases, and they get on that stage, whether they do really well or they think they bombed, doesn't matter. You stood up there and you did it. And I always applaud that because you had enough confidence. Now, see if we can do it better next time, right? So
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, you know, and that's what it's all driven. A lot of, like you mentioned before, people nowadays want that instant gratification, right? They want to post that song or that video on TikTok or and they want a million views, you know, and then they're dissatisfied
That's
when they
it.
don't get it, you know, immediately. But
Yeah, and most don't. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's an unfortunate byproduct of the fast-paced society we're living in. And I
right,
think that's part of the reason why there is, on one end, a very thriving market for independent artists and things you could never do a few years ago. But the flip side of it is the challenges of you have to cut through a lot of noise. And I think a lot of artists get down because they don't want to be posting their eggs and bacon breakfast every day on TikTok or showing. I understand you got to let people in, but it's never been a natural thing for most artists. I mean, some like it, but 99% will say to me, I don't want to just be sitting all day posting on Instagram. And I have good
right,
news for you. You don't have to. There's a whole strategy. You don't need to be doing that. You know, sure, brand awareness, tell people, you know, your community, your friends, make posts. But to sit there doing 5 to 10 a day and all that, I mean, unless you're built for that and you're, you know, have a natural knack to be an influencer, let the influencers push your music on the platforms. You got
right.
to build relationships and get in with the people who have the eyeballs already instead of trying to build that site while trying to make music, while touring, while maybe going to acting lessons and auditions and, you know, castings and all. It's just too much. And that's why you're going to sacrifice the art, right? Because you're like, well, I just got to make content, so I'm going to make it quick. But you know, quantity without quality, it's tough, and that's why we're all sifting through all this sea of noise. And
Right.
after a while, we all get to the point with our smartphones where I was just like, I can't take it anymore.
You and
Right?
everyone else, right?
Yeah, it's a lot, and so we have a lot of things competing for our attention as creators, let's say, you know. And I'm speaking again from the perspective of a musician, songwriter, producer, artist, and all the artists I know and work with and help. Time is a tough thing, and you have to shut the phone off when you're writing and working on music. You got to be able to, and that's the whole point of it, is to block the outside world. That's the point of writing and making music. It's an escape. It's therapy. There's nothing to me more therapeutic than writing something you feel proud of, you know, and you're like, this is me. I said something that I wanted to, and I actually got it right. Because most of the time I mess it up, you know. Frustrated artist. Everybody knows that. But so yeah, yeah,
Very cool. Well, I'm a music fan. I absolutely love music. I love all genres of music. And I'm the kind of guy that I want my music to be appropriate with where I'm at. And so I spent some time the last few months. I was up in kind of the Pacific Northeast or Northwest, up in Montana and Wyoming and those parts. And so I really kind of honed in on country music while I was up there, right? Because that's
right.
what I kind of
It's
the
your thing.
area that, right. And then so now I'm in
Yeah.
Puerto Rico. I just landed here 2 days ago, and of course, Bad Bunny's on my playlist all day long, right?
Funny, yeah, right. But it's a vibe, you know, and it's like the soundtrack to your life. Music is the soundtrack to your life. Everybody should make it that way, right? That's why we got a playlist. And every time I go to a certain part of the country, I do the same thing. I'm like, all right, what's my Florida playlist or Nashville playlist or wherever, LA? And that's what makes that's music is a whole nother world, right? You know, it's like I don't know. I could talk about it forever. It's just it's a great thing to be a music lover and to feel inspired and motivated by it, right?
Well, I know that obviously you've been in the business for a while, and so you've seen the music industry change so much. I mean, I remember I had a good friend in high school, and this was a couple years ago, and not and
Right.
his house, he had his dad had a music room in his house, and you can go in there, and there was 8 tracks, cassettes, records, and it had this whole sound system set up, and you could basically play anything and everything you wanted. And he must have had a library of a couple thousand, right? A couple thousand choices to choose from. And I remember we would go in there on a Saturday afternoon. You know, we weren't gamers, so we weren't on the Nintendo 64 at the time or
Right.
whatever that was, back in
Yeah.
the day.
Oh, yeah. I had them
And
all.
we would just flip through vinyls and pop in 8 tracks and just sit
Yeah.
there and listen to cool music. But within your business itself, I know that so much has changed
Oh, yeah.
drastically. The time that you've been, and I know that you all obviously put a lot of thought about the future as well and what's kind of coming down the road,
Yep.
as
Yeah.
well. But how have you really kind of you have to constantly be pivoting and changing, I would imagine, being in the music industry.
the old saying is it's a truly a moving target. Absolutely. You're always pivoting. You're always looking for the next thing, where things are going, trends are going, not just trends sonically or musically, but trends from a business perspective, from a human perspective. Who would have ever predicted we'd be here after 5 years later after COVID, like, or prior to COVID, I should say. Look at how that kind of changed
Right.
direction for so much of the world, for better and for worse. And so music is exactly like that. I mean, same like you're saying, I have the old vinyls, and then I was mostly in the CD era. So, coming out through the 80s and 90s, I was, yeah, vinyl in the beginning with 45s and
Right.
LPs. Then I moved to cassettes in the 80s, and I hated those because they just it was getting eaten. And
The
young
machine on data, yeah.
I know there's a niche thing going on with the cassettes, so maybe the younger audience does understand it. But if you don't, and you haven't been there, like, you remember we used to drive down the road, and for like a mile straight, you'd see the tape, like the sun
Right.
would, and I would laugh. So yeah, somebody got their tape caught in the thing, and it ate it, and they got pissed, and they just threw it out the window, and and they would always warp and sounded. When they sounded good, they did sound good. I'll give them that. But so yeah, I couldn't wait to jump to CD. But back then in the 80s, CDs were like $15 to $18 for an album, and if you bought a CD because you liked one song and the rest of the CD was really bad, you were mad because you wasted all this money. Now you don't have to worry about any of that. So that's definitely changed. What has changed as well for me, which I love, is the monetization of the industry went from, well, you're selling physical product. And this was a big thing for a long time. And there's probably still people complaining about this, that, oh, music is no longer, it's rarely monetized through physical product. People don't really buy CDs. They don't, so, there's a vinyl thing going on. There is, but that's more, again, specialty. But the real business was run off of album sales, right? Whether that was a CD, a cassette, a DVD, audio, whatever. And so you'd buy a CD and a cassette or whatever format, and once you had it, unless you broke it or the car ate it, which was often enough, and that's probably why they made more money on the cassettes, you wouldn't buy it again. So but when it comes to streaming, sure, it's a very small amount of money you make on each stream, but over the course of your life, if you can get enough people listening, it kind of never goes away. And what happens is, if you keep building, and this is something I didn't really start figuring out. I think we were fairly early adopters of it, but when I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I started doing this when Spotify and YouTube and stuff really first came on the scene, because I wasn't focused on building catalog. I wasn't. I was just thinking, I want to produce the next great artist and I want to write great songs, which is cool. We always got to do that. But I wasn't thinking like catalog. And I would tell everybody, I'm not saying it's always easy, because some people can't write prolifically, or they're not around in a situation where they can be recording a lot of music. But in the long run, if you could build your own catalog and own it, that's the biggest one. Few people are going to tell you this little secret gem here, and you've heard it before. The whole Taylor Swift thing, and why she re-recorded her music, because she wanted to have Taylor's version, because she wanted to own her masters. She's very smart, and she realized, wow, ownership of the actual recording, the copyright of the recording, is extraordinarily valuable, because every time it's played, maybe in a movie or TV show, or it's streamed on Spotify or Apple Music, any of the platforms, there's money collecting and collecting and collecting. So I want artists to own their own stuff. Own your masters if you can. When you're writing your songs, of course, maybe you're not an expert on writing and you have to collab with other people and stuff, but you should have a stake in your publishing, a stake in your songwriting credits. And so that's a big passion for us, is we try to help, or we help artists get set up where they understand the simplicity, and it's not that complicated. The simplicity of today, how the business works, and the fact that you're in full control. And you should be. I mean, you should be open-minded. Of course, you take advice. You don't want to think you know it all. I don't know it all by any stretch, but so I'm always listening to what others say, and trying to get good advice from people when I think I can't figure something out. So you keep it open, but it's your show. See, as acting and modeling, you will have to go on auditions, and you'll be hired, which is all good. No throwing you guys no shade at all, but you're in a sense an employee. And as an artist, you're really not an employee. You're more of the employer, because take any of your favorite big artists out there, whether it's Bad Bunny or any of them we were just talking about, they're a business, and they didn't wake up one day and were like, I'm going to audition so I could be Taylor Swift. It's like, all right, I want to do this, and this is who I am, and this is what I want to say, and I want the world to hear it, and I think I got something really cool. That's leadership stuff, right? And so it's a little bit of a different mindset in the music business. It's definitely more, I don't know more, but it's very entrepreneurial. It's business minded, but not boring business. Like this is like once you dive into this as an artist and it start to understand the landscape you're in. Usually you get really excited because you realize that the possibilities are right at your fingertips. I mean, how crazy is that? That's amazing. You can release a song. Anybody can release a song. Anyone tomorrow. And theoretically, there's a billion people. I don't know, maybe, well, yeah, between all the platforms, there's probably several billions of people that can hear it immediately. Spotify has a couple 100 million subscribers that immediately can listen, and Apple and all the others, right? So the accessibility is the biggest thing or the biggest change I've seen in the industry that I think is the most important one. And again, if you embrace it and aren't like the old school mindset of, oh, well, I can't make $8 every time I sell a CD. Well, that's just the way it is. Life changes, the business changes, and some things sometimes for the better, others for the worse, but you balance them out. But it's never been better for new singers and new artists to try to get into something and have their voice be heard. So
Right. And gone are the days where you'd be on the streets of LA and these guys are trying to peddle CDs to you and like, hey, $5,
yeah,
$5, or they're playing music on the streets and selling that. But
literally that was a big thing. That was constant back in the day. Yeah, I remember that.
I remember my first CD I ever bought,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if I should name it.
Did you have the boombox or did you have the tower system with all like the components?
No. So I had the box, right? So I had the box.
Same.
Yeah. I was excited when I got my first CD player in my car, except for it skips all the time,
Oh yeah. That was the thing. The CD skipped and we missed that. There's like, if you were from that time and you're in the industry now, I don't know. I think a lot of people that are my age that have been in it a long time, or they're not really in it anymore, a lot of them, but the ones that are kind of, again, the business kind of moved on without them,
Right.
and it's okay to feel the nostalgia. I love that too. I've still got an old car, like a classic car with a CD player in it from like the 90s, and it sounds great still. And every now and again, I just crank that up, and it's just like nostalgia. Well, I'm 10, and
Right.
but I also know, like, look, this is a relic. It's like I'm not typing on a typewriter.
And then along came Napster. Remember the Napster days?
Oh God, yeah, of course. Well, look, that was the definitive moment, wasn't it? Napster and MP3.com, and then of course MySpace. They kind of converged at a similar time there, and what would that have been like? 2000, 2000 probably, right around Y2K. And I knew it then, though. I knew it, and I resisted it, and I fought it like most people did that weren't like maybe younger, but I resisted it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to ruin the music business, and but no, it really didn't. I mean, I think it probably sank a lot of record labels, and again, where it might have hurt some sector, others blossomed and thrived because of it. So I'm an optimist. That's just me, though. I'm an optimist. Always have been. I'm looking on the bright side of it.
And that's how I feel about AI. I mean, I know you probably have a lot of
Oh, yeah.
discussion about AI, and I'm sure everybody in the music industry is currently, talking about it. It's definitely a hot topic. But I see AI coming down the road, especially for, the acting industry, voiceover industry, all this stuff. And I see that it's just going to change the landscape. I'm sure you guys in the music business are feeling the same thing. It's definitely changing the landscape, but it's not going to take away the physical artist. Like I feel like there's still going to be a need for physical artists,
Unless the public thinks there isn't, but I don't believe that. There's no way. But continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, right, because I mean, we still can go to a symphony today. I could book a ticket to go see, a symphony, a full orchestra, and that's been around for what, hundreds of years, right? And so yeah, so I think, there's definitely aspects to the music industry that are going to change, but it's never going to take away, from the entire industry.
No, it won't. And I would encourage anybody, I don't care, like, if you're not good at playing an instrument or you don't think you can write, if you want to use AI just to kind of hash out something, okay, but I would encourage you, don't rely on it when it comes to like coming up with music. Because you're giving away your humanity like that. I mean, I guess, look, to each his own, right? I don't know, but I've heard some things it's done, and I'm like, wow, that's definitely, it's going to grab some of the market share. There's no doubt it will. But for all the young people that are looking at the future with this AI stuff, just integrate with it, learn it, play around with it, be familiar with it, because nothing's going to help you by putting your head in the sand about it, right? I mean, it would be no different like with the MP3 or with a Napster and stuff. If everybody's like, "Oh, you know what? That's the end of making CDs, and I just want to make CDs the rest of my life. I'm quitting music." Like, that wouldn't have been a solution, right?
Right.
So embrace it, understand it, and don't feel pressure to have to learn it all fast. But as you're going down the road, take an interest in it because it's going to be here. Unless we have an EMP that wipes all this out and we go back to the Stone Age, it's here. And yeah, it can be scary. I mean, we know like with the optimists and everything that's coming down the pike. I always look ahead. I'm probably like you too, Jeremy, looking ahead, always thinking like I can just tell like that's your style, trying to get ahead of what's coming, what's it going to do.
Trying to
But what
catch the wave that's coming, right? Might as well.
Yeah, you know what? It's always kind of not that AI itself has been here, but for the last 10 years, my head and the people in our company's head is always how to I guess manipulate the algorithms, if you will, how to make the algorithm your friend. And in a sense, algorithmic based platforms, streaming platforms, YouTube, all of them all have their own proprietary, but these are essentially learning programs. So AI has kind of been here in that way. And we've in many ways as a company cracked the code on how to train it to respond and to feature and to promote in a sense your music, and so right this is something I always tell people. Up until not long ago, a few years ago, your only job as an actor, as a singer, as a model performer was to, I guess, impress others and get others to hear you or see you. That's the goal. You want to get out on the stage. Why? Because you want people to see you, right? You want to be seen. You want to be heard. You want to be noticed. And you want to be liked. Let's face it. Of course, we want to be liked. No one wants to not be liked. But you had to do it in a fully, solely human arena. Now, it is still a human arena, but you also have to become friends with the AI. Or, well, yeah, AI. But the algorithm was the way we always thought until now the AI is really becoming the forefront of what's going on. So we're pretty ahead on it, and we understand it pretty good. Not as good as others, but I'm seeing some really cool stuff with AI anyway. Interesting stuff where it can make your life easier, where you could use it for metadata, things like that. Where I don't want to get too complicated here, but stuff where singers can use it to their benefit to promote themselves and not have to grind as much to get people to listen to you.
Right. Definitely.
So I'm okay with it. Wherever it's going to go, it's going to go. And we're all in the same boat together, so we'll see.
But also on the other side of things here, before we get off the subject of AI, but like you mentioned, we're living in a digital world, whereas before people were peddling CDs on the street, and they wanted to be heard, but they had to get it to as many people as they possibly could. And how many people can you see in the street in a day? Maybe a few hundred people. And how many CDs are you selling now? Like you mentioned, you could push a song out there and somebody from halfway around the world can hear it instantly. And so now, you that technology that's making changes to everybody's lives is beneficial in one way, but it can also be unbeneficial in other ways as well. So it's just a shifting of the way things are done.
Yeah, it's a shifting, but I think it's a net positive by far. You want to know because a lot of people I work with, they don't ever want to perform or get on stage, and most do, but a lot don't. They're very, either they kind of have social anxiety or whatever it is, and they just create amazing music and they want it to be heard. Not even so much so they can be like, "Look, aren't I good?" They don't want that. They're not looking for it. They just want the music to be heard because they're just composing or making music and like it, right? And they think others will. And now they have an ability to reach crazy amounts of people that they never would have been able to before. So yeah, so the negatives to me, I mean, unless you could think of some off the top of my head, we could, or your head, we could address them, but I don't really see too many other than it's just a shifting from the old world to the new world in a way, right? And that's happening on everywhere right now. So it's a radical kind of
Absolutely.
timeline shift that we're in.
I love it. I think it's exciting. I'm
Definitely.
looking forward to the next 5-10 years hold for everybody. So
Oh, it's unlike we're on the precipice of a whole new thing. It was kind of like the dawning of email or something. I remember when email first came around, where cell phones, right? Like this is kind of like that moment because the robotics that are coming. we all watch Black Mirror and those shows and things like that. We're like, that's, well, hopefully not the dystopian part, but the robotics, the dogs, and all that stuff. That's here, man. I mean, that's wild. It's absolutely wild that I could talk to my phone and be like, make me a album cover or a picture or this or this. I want it to look like this. And in 10 seconds, it spits it out, and then I can correct it and talk to it like it's my own personal assistant. That's the kind of thing I encourage for the young people that are getting into AI. Like, use it in that way. Use it in a way where if you need to know something, like it can help you fix anything. It could truly make your life easier instead of having to sift through pages on Google or try to ask someone, how like I can get my TV remote to work or this to work, and troubleshooting in life. We have a million things in technology now. So, right, technology's made our lives more complicated, of course. Finally, now it's going to hopefully make it easier, hopefully, with AI.
Well, I think we live in the most exciting time ever. If you look at history, I think this generation, we're sitting in one of the most exciting times that you could possibly be in.
Challenging but exciting, yeah.
So much is changing. Well, let's get to a couple of questions. I do have somebody here is asking. I see a lot of people asking about how do they get started. So somebody said that they're a singer, they want to get help with it. Someone says they're a rapper just starting off. What would be a good recommendation for if somebody's here, they love music, they have a passion for music, maybe they've done a little bit, played with it. What's a good way for them to really kind of just get on the path of success? I know it's not going to be an overnight thing, and we've already addressed that, right? But what's a good way for them to really get started? What would be a good?
Yeah, I mean, an overview of that would be, look, and it's tough to answer it so broadly because every singer could be in a little bit of a different place. But here's what I would say in general. And remember, the cool thing is wherever you are is okay. You're not in a wrong place because maybe you don't know how to write a song or lyrics, or you don't know how to play an instrument, or you don't know anyone yet in the business. That doesn't mean you're in a wrong place. You're just in a different place that you want to be, and we got to work on getting there. But really, in the beginning, if you have this passion, you think you can sing, or maybe you don't think you can sing very well. Regardless, you got to be training. If you have a good vocal coach, great. Local coaches tend to be pretty decent. I mean, most of them are going to be theater-based or classical, and that's kind of what classical training like I had in the beginning. But it's good because it's foundational, and you'll learn the basic proper techniques to sing and getting your range in order and all that. So always having someone around that's a good coach that can hear you objectively, show you where you're kind of maybe missing the mark, and making you and to strive to get better at whatever it is. That includes instruments too. If you have a knack for playing piano or guitar and you want to, definitely start. You don't have to become Mozart in a week. Just play. Start messing around. And if you already play really well, maybe you need to start coming up with some ideas, or you have a few ideas in your head. So really, ultimately, crafting your talent, of course, I mean, that's kind of an obvious one, but I know people that have a lot of raw talent and they think maybe they don't need training. And I tell them, you're not going to get a vocal coach because you already know how to sing. You're getting coached just to help you sing even better and to learn things you never even knew about your voice, and how to get different sounds and different tools in your toolbox, and to bring truly you out, because this whole journey is, and I would say this is a part of the answer too, is you discovering yourself. That happens through challenging yourself vocally. It happens through maybe challenging yourself to think of a song title, or maybe create some song lyrics as you're driving around or hanging around somewhere. Start becoming more creative minded, thinking about, let your imagination run. Wasn't it Einstein who said that imagination is more powerful than knowledge, or something? I might be messing that up, but it's similar, something like that, paraphrasing. And it is true. I mean, your imagination is what leads to everything. We all have dreams, right? I mean, we all have, no matter how old you are, you have a dream. Some maybe just daydreams or pipe dreams, but they're still dreams. And what makes them real dreams that can become successful is the actions you take. So definitely you want to have that dream. You want to have that passion, and look ahead and see in your mind's eye where you would like to go. Visualize it, see it clearly. Don't be afraid to think big, and start to think about, you're going to need help, right? Because very few people that I meet are self-contained, especially younger, because they haven't had the time yet to really train in these different areas and be a great singer, great songwriter, great musician, great performer, great producer, great touring. That takes time to get there, right? So the early steps are the training, the passion and desire and the visualization of what you want to do and where you want to be, who you want to become as that artist, thinking about song titles, thinking about life experiences maybe you'd like to share with others, right? Because music is all about, and I mean, it sounds like kumbaya here, but it's really about healing, I think. I mean, I guess you can listen to music to really not heal and to do two bad things, you know, violent music, I guess. But really, the power of music is healing and relatability, knowing like you're not going through something alone, right? So, young generation has some big challenges that we never had, and it's unique to their generation right now. So this is a very fertile ground to be writing songs about, to help others who are also of all ages, but certainly in the younger demographic needs some role models. So you want to think, hey, I could be that. Why couldn't I do that? The people that are the most successful, not necessarily they're not more special than any of you guys. Like it all started with a dream. I mean, anybody would agree. I think that, no, maybe not anybody, but most people would agree. Like somebody like Whitney Houston or Celine Dion or Bruno Mars or Adele or Amy Winehouse, or Christina Aguilera, they're much better technical vocalists than someone like a Taylor Swift. She can't sing like Christina Aguilera,
Right.
but she's probably even bigger, because it's just about the dream and finding the right people. So the next step after that would be finding people maybe locally and friends that might be musicians you can start collaborating with, and don't worry about writing bad music. Write it. You can always throw it out when you're done with it. Just be open to just being creative, because I think a lot of people get into this and say, oh, I want to put out my own music, I want people to hear my own stuff. But in the beginning, it feels like a maze, and how am I going to do this, and I don't know anything, or maybe I don't know how to really write songs or play an instrument, or I've never really done this before, but I want to, but I haven't done it. Don't worry, that's like everything in life. Right? We all have to start somewhere, and
Exactly.
I think the starting point is really important, and you want to just protect it. You don't have to tell the whole world yet that you're going to be the next big thing and the next great singer out there. Even if you believe it in your heart, keep it contained, and only share that with people that, and that's a big one I learned. People that are on your team, people that really are encouragers in your life, because you'll all probably will experience this if you haven't already. Oh, you want to sing or you want to act? Oh, what are
Yeah.
you going to do, that acting thing? Oh, what are you going to be in like a movie or something? And they're like kind of looking down at you when they say it. And then
Right.
because a lot of people are jealous, right? That's the world. That's never changed. It's always going to be that way. So creativity, it's kind of like you always hear people say, "The song is my baby. The song was my baby," right? Oh well, people say that because it's special to them and meaningful, and kind of a delicate thing, right? Like a baby's delicate. So um, be careful who you share it with in the early stages.
Yeah.
Surround yourself in a good environment of people that are, get you and understand what you're trying to do. And eventually leveling up and working with good writers, good songwriters, eventually producers. The production thing, and I'm again, 2 studios producer. I've been doing production my whole life. That's an area where I think has changed a lot too, in the last decade or two. Because look
Right.
at, like, there's a lot of people we call bedroom artists making records on a laptop in their bedroom with
Right.
gosh, when I was starting out, the amount of equipment you needed to sound even decent, how expensive it was. Now I'm not saying it's super cheap, but compared to back then, right? You could get a $100 mic sounds as good as like the top mics back in the day. In some ways, not all of them though. But,
Right.
but my point is, like, you can use cheap gear, and I know like the old school cats will hate me for saying this, but you can use cheap gear and make pretty darn good sounding records.
Yeah.
I got
Absolutely.
like, I'm very blessed and spoiled and lucky, because I just have an addiction to equipment and instruments and gear. So I've got a cool setup,
It's the toys.
Yeah. Oh God, I got more toys than I can shake a stick at, right? And they're great, and some of them are amazing, of course. And a lot of times they're just sitting in the rack, and I'm not even turning them on because I'm just using the $50 plugin I have in Logic or Pro Tools. And I'm like, wow, man, this thing sounds really good. It sounds as good as the thing I have that it's emulating. And so, for a small portion, you can buy Logic for $200, and it comes with like 100 gigabytes of great samples and sounds, and from organic stuff to beats and electronic, hip hop, whatever, pre-made loops, whatever, right? And now AI, they're integrating that into all these
Yeah.
audio workstations, as we call them, DAWs. And but yeah, you can do stuff on a very limited budget. But I think the song. My point about the product, people are always like, do I need to hire a producer? Do I need to bring a producer? In music, yes, it's maybe at some point, but they forsake the time it takes to write something really special, and sometimes that happens quickly, but most of the time, especially if you're not new at songwriting, you gotta breathe with it. Don't worry about recording. Don't worry about that. When you got something special and you got a great song demoed, getting the good recording isn't as hard as it used to be.
Or put it out there. Well, so I'm gonna kind of sum up a couple of great points you made. So number one, if you're into songwriting or music producing, just get it out there. If it ends up being something that you're really not enjoying later on, or think it's that great, or you redo it, you can always delete the original, right? You can just delete the one that you put out there, and
Absolutely. Oh yeah, because basically what happens is, so again, when we get to this place where people are ready to release music, we have a conversation about digital distribution companies and who do you use, how do you get it out there? There are several of them. But the most common one is DistroKid, and it's basically like an app. You download it, you upload your artwork, you upload your song, your WAV files and everything. And within this platform, and it's like setting up in a sense like a bank account, because it's going to be paying you through there, and you pay a very small nominal yearly fee to be able to post as much music as you want or whatever you want to put out there. And so you determine what you release and if you want to pull it off, but you want to try to avoid that, obviously, because I've worked with a couple artists like that where we did something and it wasn't maybe a huge success, but it started getting a lot of streams and started getting attention on YouTube or whatever, and then they like I don't know if I like it anymore, and they just pull it down. And then a year later or two later, they put it back up because they realized maybe they had a moment where they just were insecure, which we all have, and I get that. And you're always going to have that to some extent, but how to mitigate that, that's why I'm saying if you really take your time in the pre-production phase of songwriting and living with it and understanding and really being clear about, oh, I want this song to be like this, or I want it to sound like there's real musicians on it, or I want this to sound really aggressive EDM, or you have to start getting clear, and people can help you find that path. It's not like you're left to your own devices if you can't figure that out, but you'll have to go through drafts, if you will, right? And don't be afraid to take the time. You know what? This music has skewed older, or this music business has, has skewed older in the last, since COVID, right? Prior in the 2010s and the decade that followed that, it was the Justin Bieber's, it was young artists breaking. Even Billie Eilish, I think, how old was she when her first single came out? 16, maybe 15, 16. Ariana, like we can just go down the line. That's not really happening as much anymore. Now you're seeing the artists that are hitting the scene are kind of older, they're 20s, 30s. Not that that's old, but I think that's great because yes, when you're younger, you can come up with just as brilliant stuff, but there's something to be said about seasoning yourself as an artist and experiencing, and so don't feel like you're running out of time is what I'm saying. Back in our day, like if someone was 25, right, and you're like, I want to be the next Pearl Jam or whatever it was back then, they're like, oh, you're getting old. Like 25, you're getting old. What? That's, by the way, another change that's so great about where the music industry has gone and entertainment. It's really anything goes. Anything goes.
I mean, even in the modeling world, that's changed quite a bit. You were considered a washed up model at age 28. Like you're done. Your career is over. Not anymore.
Yeah, and you know why I think the reason for that is because on social media we just see all of everything. And so back then the media was tightly controlled, right? Again, we saw what was only on a few channels of TV. If you had cable back then, it was like 30 channels. You had a couple radio stations that were the big hit radio stations. You had MTV, VH1, whatever, magazines. And that filter to get into that was super narrow. And there was a sameness that was kind of, whether you liked it or not, there was very limited.
Well,
I don't know how to say it, but you know what I mean.
Well, the decision makers too, they were saying, okay, this works. So we don't want to try anything different because we know that this works, right? And so now they're seeing an older model, older as in maybe like mid 30s with 2 million followers on Instagram. And they're like, oh, well, maybe that works too,
Social proof, because they're seeing other people responding to someone that is not in your typical category of what we grew up or saw back in years past. And that's giving other people courage and confidence to say, hey, I might not look like this or sound like this or whatever, but I'm relevant. I can do it. If someone else can do it, I can do it. And that's a really cool thing. And who's to say if people like you? I mean, look, we can all be opinionated. I know what I like and don't like, but that doesn't mean it's true. It's just my preference. So, who's anybody to say if the public buys in and people like what you're doing? That's awesome. I love it.
Right. Yeah, I going back to also another point you made is be careful who you talk to or share your goals or your music with, right? And that's so important because be careful who you get advice from. Sometimes people go to advice for somebody and say, "Hey, do you think I should do this or do that?" But that person's never even been in the entertainment business at all whatsoever. And
Oh,
they're trying to give advice or they're receiving advice from somebody who knows nothing about it. And it's a
well,
very important. You're going to get haters no matter what, especially if you
yeah,
become very successful. And so you just really have to learn who you can really go to, who you can trust, who's on your team, right? And that's an important part.
100%. Yeah, your team is everything. It is true. Your team is everything. And I think the music industry, the entertainment industry, because it's the entry to it, there's no entry fee in a sense, meaning that there's no other business. If I want to be a football player, if I want to be some sort of stockbroker, or accountant, or a doctor, or a lawyer, or anything, plumber, electrician, I can't wake up and like, I'm just going to start wiring houses tomorrow, right? Even if in my mind, even if I know how to do it, right? There's
YouTube
there's protocols. But in music, I could wake up and be like, you know what? I'm a music manager today. I'm a music producer today. I know people like that. They'll just like whatever like is in, they just claim that title.
Yeah.
And they never really, like you said, they didn't do it. They didn't walk the walk. And that's the difference. I think, in my world, it's like, and not, again, everybody's different, but what I'm happy about is I started probably where everybody who's listening that wants or has a dream to sing or get in music, that's where I began. To me, it was just, wasn't thinking about private jets or even being famous so much. I was just wanted to make something. I was making music and I was into it, and this is great. And there happens to be a really big market out there and people love music. So I think I could do well with this. That was always my mindset. So throughout the years, hitting all those pitfalls, working with a slew of people that just were, time wasters, or I don't even say anyone's a time waster because you learn from everything, right? But yeah, the music industry is full of a lot of talkers, and and they're all caught up in the fame and fortune part of it. And I'm not talking about necessarily the artists. I'm talking about other, music industry people, right? And I get it. They want to be a part of a big project. They want to do something big, but they're only thinking of it like the person in the suit behind the desk and looking at the numbers and like you got to do this. So, and it's very corporate in the mindset like that where it's all about like exploiting the artist in a way. And it's like artistry is very delicate. And granted, look, if you hit it right, you can make a ton of money. That's awesome. But you got to do it. You got to do it for the right reasons, and you got to be around people like you said that know what they're doing with that and have been there and walked in those shoes before, and know. Ideally, if you're working with people who know what it's like to be on the road or to have written songs and to have disappointment in life and have their songs rejected and all that stuff, and I can tell all your listeners, all you guys out there, I've been through tons of heartbreak too. I mean, I've had so many moments where it was like this close. Had them recently too. You're always going to have that. But in the end, you look back and what's meant to be is meant to be, and you have some time away and can look back and why things happened the way they did, and you're an optimist. You'll be like, oh, okay, cool, and on to the next thing, and just stay focused and believe in yourself and stay focused on your mission and what you want to do, and keep building. It's like a castle, little by little. Just keep building, and before you know, you might have this beautiful Disney castle or something, right?
I mean, everybody started there. Taylor Swift started with nothing. She started way back in the day and had a dream as well, just like everybody else that's on here. So I have a good
Awesome.
question from Sasha. She's asking a more technical question, so I'd like to pick
Okay,
your brain
cool.
about that. She says that she has opera training as her base for singing, and she's wanting to kind of elevate from what I'm understanding her question to be. Elevated. She's recording everything now on her iPhone 16 Pro, but should she invest in an external mic for recording? Would that be a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And again, it all depends on where you are, right? I mean, if investing in that mic is going to make or break your situation in life, then you're fine with the iPhone. I mean, it doesn't have a bad mic in it. Somebody like a year ago was in my studio and played me something of this artist he was friends with or something. I can't remember, but it was all done on an iPhone. And I heard, putting it up on my channel, I got really amazing monitors in here that reveal a lot, and I can hear like the lacking stuff, but it was minimal, and it was my ultimate critique ear. But on just average listener, or just me even not paying attention listening to it, was like, wow, this is really good. And so you can make some good stuff on there. But yeah, the microphone is important, and you might you might have to try a couple different ones to find one that fits your voice. It's a little bit of a, like you said, technical. Obviously in my studio, like I said, I'm spoiled. I've probably got 2 or 3 dozen mics, vocal mics. Some of them are cheaper end mics, couple $100 mics. A lot of them are, I've got a Sony C800G. That's like a most sought after kind of incredible vocal mic that sounds incredible on most people, but not on everyone. So, when we have singers in here, I test out several mics. So I'm doing that way from as long as I can remember that I have more than one mic. Once I have more than one mic, it was always like, let me hear you on this one. Let me hear it now. So if you're really, annoyingly technical like me, you can find a store that will let you have a return policy. That I think Guitar Center most of them will do that, where like they'll let you take the mic home, play around with it for a day or two, whatever, or you have it shipped to you, however. And if you hate it, you return it and maybe try something else. But yeah, it's a personal preference. I think Ariana or one of them, maybe it was Mariah, they have their own mic, and everywhere they go, like that's the mic they use in the studio.
I love it. Why not, right? I'm sure it's blinged out too.
I'm sure, yeah. It's been modded to the end of the earth. It's got gold tubes in it and all this crazy stuff. Right? Yeah, I don't know. There's mics out there, no joke. Like, I mean, I've used many of them that are $30,000-$40,000 for a microphone, for one microphone.
Wow. Would I look like a diva if I walked around with a microphone all the time and people were wondering?
Probably. You do you, man. Like, this is 2025, right?
Hey, this is my mic. I gotta have it.
Get some views, right?
Well, John, I appreciate the time. I know I don't want to waste your whole night. I'm sure you have a lot of things happening, and I really do enjoy picking your brain. I definitely want to get you back on here.
Sure.
Quickly though, before we sign off, is if somebody is interested in working with you, what's the best approach for them to take? Should they go to your website? I do have it up here on the banner. Let me put that up. Or what?
Yep. Well, at Instagram, you can message us on Instagram, Watersound Entertainment. Now I know there's like a Watersound Entertainment out of like Africa somewhere, and they're like,
that's not you.
No, it's not us. It's like a sound design company. They do like speakers or something. I'm not really sure, but anyway, yeah, no, we're in the States, and you'll see like things on there that we're featured on TV shows, music featured on movies, and our artists. Like, you'll know it's us.
That's a cool website. I was on there,
Thank you.
through it. I love it. It's nice.
Yeah, you can just send them a link to. I think our Instagram is on there. We got to, maybe add some things to that website. It's like I'm so busy in here all the time, and you forget that's an important part of it too. But we're also we're not big on like kind of bragging on all the stuff we got going on. We just love making music. But yeah, website's good, and it's for me. I'm all about relationship, right? So like I'm not really the type of person that's just going to have anybody come in here and let's just work together. I want to get to know you. I want to know, are you really serious? And the most important part of it is, can I do something to help move the ball forward? Because if I can't, guess what? I am wasting your time and mine, right? So generally speaking, I can always give some free advice and guidance that'll help people, and I love doing that. So that's no problem. But yeah, that's, people reach out all the time. I'm constantly getting emails and messages from our website, from Instagram, and especially like other music business companies, licensing deals, people like from different countries reaching out. We want to use your song in this, and I'm like, is this real or not? And sometimes they are real, sometimes they are. A lot of times they're not. So
you have to navigate carefully right nowadays.
You do. You know why? Because we're in the era of spam. Right. Remember email? It was just like, after a while, I started looking at my inbox on my phone. It's going to 100, 200, 2,000. Now it's like, my emails, I have, what do I have right now? 34,854. Most of them spam. I don't have the time to delete them. So and now my text messages are like that, right? And your voicemail, we all know this. And you're getting text messages from the local gym or from some bank you never heard of, like, we'll give you money. And then you got all these promotion companies that are like, hey, are you a singer? We'll promote you on, we'll get you on big playlists and stuff. So there's a lot, we don't have any time.
Expect a lot more spam, because it looks like last I checked, we have about 5 million viewers on us tonight watching. So
No, it's a long few months.
So any big plans this weekend before I let you go? Any exciting things happening in your world?
Right here. Yeah,
This
we're
is
now
it.
finishing up a couple really cool projects, and we do a lot of collaborations with other musicians and artists. So we're trying to finish some stuff up to release for the fall, um, and the summer's starting to come to a close. We finally got some really nice weather here in the Northeast. It's been unbearably hot, so enjoying
It's
the
the best
weather.
time of year to be there. Summer and
Yeah,
spring or winter, fall and
spring and
spring.
fall, like September, October. We were looking forward to that. Got a lot of cool projects, cool artists coming in, and just the everyday thing, making music, loving it, and yeah, I don't have anything super exciting else to share with you on that. Just doing our thing, and very excited about it. Like I'm always pumped, but I'm really pumped for the new music we have coming out, and we're just building that catalog and continuing to do that. So it was a real pleasure chatting with you. And
Yeah, absolutely. I have a concert I'm heading off to later on tonight.
How are you?
Yeah, I was on the flight back from Orlando to Puerto Rico. A buddy reached out. He said, "Hey, are you in town this weekend?" I'm like, "I'm actually on my flight right now." He
How
goes,
you having a good time out there?
"Yeah." So Side Piece, they're EDM DJs. I don't know if you know who they are, but he's good friends with them. They're here in town tonight.
Go party,
Got
have
some
fun. Saturday night.
artist pass to go
Yeah,
hang out.
to hang out with them too. That's cool.
Yeah,
Backstage hangouts and music and just having a good time. Isn't it great? And by the way, one last thing we'll say. I know I can keep it forever too, but AI. There's going to be a resurgence of that kind of stuff going out, and even though it's always been a thing, I guess, to see these festivals, Coachella and all that. But watch on a more local scale. I think we're going to start seeing things where they were back in like the early '90s and mid '90s when they had these internet cafes and these coffee houses and things where people were playing live more. Because as AI takes hold, I kind of created this term in my mind that we're living in this season called the blurring, where everything's blurred. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake.
right.
You're bombarded with so much information. You become apathetic almost to the point where you don't even know what's real anymore. But what's real is getting back to human contact. And we lost a lot of that with COVID, right? We did lose a lot of that. Everybody was locked in and all that. But now I think AI is going to push people to want to be more social, and there's going to be really good things about that. So for all you listening out there who want to perform and like performing, it's going to get good for you in the next couple of years. And look for opportunities to get in front of people, make connections, learn, and get hurt. So I'm really excited about the future of live performing.
Yeah, the crazy thing, John, you're the second person who said that exact same thing to me this week.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not word for word, but basically
Right, but that mindset, yeah, and that hit me not that long ago because people were asking me always about the AI, and as I'm starting to see the blurring because I'm immersed in AI, I've been realizing that I'm like, I just don't even know what's real anymore because you'll see these stuff on Instagram, whatever. People like, oh, look at those crazy UFOs in the sky, or look at this weird looking dog, and it's like, and then it's like, no, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake.
exactly. So, it's funny because I was having a conversation with somebody about how I love the music scene in Puerto Rico this last week. And I was saying what's great about Puerto Rico is it's such an underground music scene. They don't even advertise. So it's really like word of mouth and it's spread through like social media. And then the venues are so small, but they have A-listers that are coming through here all the time, and you're in these little intimate venues, and it's such a great experience. It brings you back to the old days, how things used to be, And so it's like a Side Piece, like they're a good band, they're a good DJ group. They have some following, and they're touring, but they didn't advertise that they're here tonight. It's literally just people who know, and it's a small venue, and it's going to be a great time, and I'm looking forward to it. But that person I was talking to mentioned because of AI, they think that this type of thing, what we have happening here in Puerto Rico, is going to be a worldwide kind of a thing. So
it's going to reshape. Yeah, it's going to reshape things. There's no doubt about it. People are going to we're always going to be connected to the phones. I'm not saying that's going away, but we're in a long season that's going to shift. I really believe that. And people are going to start to seek other when you realize that, like after an hour or two, and you're like every day, you're like, this is really just all the same thing over. We get bored. We like variety as people. I mean, very few people don't. We want new stimulation, new things. We're always the human soul is seeking to express itself into something more, always, right? Something bigger, something different, and something exciting. That's why. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to be entertained, and life is hard, life is tough. You got to grind sometimes, and when that becomes so boring and typical, people are going to start to shift, I think. And I think we're in the middle of the shift. The blurring is causing the shift, and that's
Yeah.
a good thing. It's going to go back. Like, that's cool that you have that. That's awesome. I want to get out there, because that's the kind of vibrant energy that sparks creativity and sparks a movement of music, which we kind of don't have too much of in the US right now.
Right.
We do, but it's not. It's underground, right? It's underground. It's not like where it used to be so mainstream. Now the mainstream's been so corporatized. We know that. I mean, through
Right.
radio, it's not even relevant anymore. But they all merge, right? All the radio stations are merging, and the whole Clear Channel thing that happened years ago, and all the networks, TV networks, and media outlets are all conglomerates, all merging, and it's like you kind of got to ignore that and build outside of that walled castle, if you will. And it's this side of the wall where everything's happening, right? And like,
Yeah.
especially like where you are, that's really cool. It's, big artists are coming through, and people don't even realize it, and they're just playing these small venues, but they're rocking the house. I mean, that's awesome.
And you can't find it anywhere online either. You can't find, that they're at, or that they're actually, they're selling tickets, of course, but they're not, like, nobody from other parts of the world know that they're actually here. So.
So, well, you're gonna have fun. That's cool. That's really. I hope that vibrance comes more to our cities and music hubs.
Puerto Rico is such a music island. I mean, they have so
Yeah.
many big names that came from here, and just it's a
It's
thriving
full of
music
life.
land.
Yeah,
Yeah.
place full of life, and living it. Really living life. So that's what this is all about. Being creative, living your life to the fullest. The old saying of living your best life now, or the best version of yourself. We all hear like the self-help gurus saying that kind of stuff, but it's true. You want to really short time here. Enjoy it. Make the best of it.
Well, I send you an official invite to come on over. So whenever you're in the area or headed over, let me know, and we'll meet up.
Talk. Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. So it was great. I think we got near solving most of the world's problems. So
close. We might not have full, like 99%, maybe, right?
All right, well, John, enjoy your weekend. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. Thanks to everyone who's joined. We will see you on the next one.
Good to see you. Good chat with you guys. Take care.